These buttery shortbread squares are one of my family's favorite holiday treats. My mom found this recipe in the Joy of Cooking cookbook and told me that our other relatives said they taste the closest to my great-grandfather's recipe, and he was a Scottish baker. Here's how I made mine. I preheated my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, then added 1 cup of softened butter to a large bowl. I'm using salted butter and it tastes great every time. Each stick of butter I'm holding is half cup, which is conveniently labeled on the wrapper. I live in Canada, so I'm used to seeing butter in this type of large block here. So an important thing to note if you pick up a block like this is to pay attention to the measurement markings on the wrapper. I've made the mistake of thinking the whole block was 1 cup when only half the block is 1 cup, as shown by this black line. And the method my mom taught me to freeze butter to use later is to cut your large block into 4 pieces, wrap them in plastic wrap, and keep them in a freezer bag so you have half-cup pieces ready whenever you need them. Here I'm just pressing into the butter to show you what softened butter looks like to me, which is not liquidy or rock solid. Now I'm creaming the butter with the back of a spoon. I do this by pressing the butter against the sides of the bowl until there are no chunks left. Next, I'm grabbing my sifter for the dry ingredients. Add 2 cups of flour, half cup of icing sugar. Here I'm just pushing down on the icing sugar to get out any lumps. Sometimes using the back of my hand works best. Then add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm giving it a quick mix, and then I've dumped in 1 cup of mini chocolate chips, which is completely optional but definitely worth adding. The mini size works best in my opinion, especially because I cut the squares into small pieces. I use my hands to squish all the dry ingredients into the butter, and I do this until I can't see any flour. Next, I start piling the dough into an ungreased pan and squish it down firmly as I keep adding dough so it turns into one big solid piece with an even surface. You can use either a 9 or 8-inch square pan. If you use an 8-inch pan like I am in this video, you may just have to bake them a little longer since the squares will be slightly thicker. Before baking, take a fork and prick your dough every inch or so. I just poke mine into a few columns. If your dough breaks like this, I just push it back together and use my hand to keep it down while I prick it with a fork, especially with the fork hitting some of the chocolate chips. I think the reason why the dough lifted like this is because I didn't mix in all the loose, dry crumbs well enough, so using my hand to keep it down worked as a solution. Now they're ready to bake. I started with 25 minutes, then checked on them. As you can kind of see here, they're not golden brown at all, so I baked them for 13 more minutes until the edges were golden brown like this. So the total baking time was 38 minutes. I did a quick poke test and the dough felt pretty much solid with minimal softness in the center. We always cut the squares while they're warm because the knife pierces right through without breaking or cracking them. And these squares are pretty rich, so we cut them small, but the size of the pieces is really up to you. Have fun making this delicious dessert, and thanks for watching.